Hi, I'm Wendy Pitt. I teach third grade at Case Creek Elementary. I studied international relations at Brigham Young University, and upon graduation I moved to Washington, D.C., and I worked for the United States Senate. I worked for a senator from California, and ultimately I wanted to be an international attorney. But life changed and I found my husband and moved back to Utah and raised our family. I was really involved in my children's school. They went to Oak Hills Elementary in Bountiful, and they needed an SEM teacher at the school. So I did that for 6 years, loved it. It was so much fun. And there was an opening for a 6th grade teacher just a couple weeks before school started. And my principal called and asked me if I would like to participate in the alternative route to licensure program and become a teacher. And I did. I taught 6th grade for 11 years, and then I moved out to Case Creek when that school opened up. And then just as staffs shift, they needed someone to move to 4th grade. And then last summer, they had a bubble of kids, so they needed a 3rd grade teacher, and I said I would be willing to do it, and I love it. My husband was in communications and economic development for years. He was also involved in local politics, and a few years ago he decided he was done with all that, and he said, I want to get my teaching degree. So he has taken his classes. He teaches junior high. At dinner, we brainstorm, and it's surprising. What works for a 3rd grader will work for an 8th grader. It doesn't matter the age. If you are enthusiastic and if you love your students, you can get them to do anything, and they'll go right along with you. Every week we have a class meeting, and we go over our data for the week, and then we have a chance for the kids to do, we don't call it like good and bad, it's plus and delta. So anything that's great that's happened that week, they can write it down. And then we have delta. We don't want to say that it's bad, it's just it needs to be changed. It's not a tattling session, but just a way that we can improve our class. An incentive we use for our students are some little buttons. When they achieve something, like typing fluency, they get a button. When they have read a certain number of books, they get a button. And I did it with 6th graders, and I do it with my 3rd graders, and they love them. They have great pride in their accomplishments. I have a poster of John Wayne in my classroom. It's from the movie True Grit, because I tell my students to have true grit with Mrs. Pitt. So I'm trying to teach them to not give up, to have that growth mindset. They may not know how to do it yet, but they'll get there eventually. But they have to have grit, not only in 3rd grade, but in life. There are so many days that I have thought, I can't believe I get paid to do this. There are those days when you just have a student that just, this is silly, just has needed you or has written you a nice note, that they are paydays. They are so fulfilling. I can't imagine my life not being a teacher. I think it has made me a better spouse, a better mom, a better grandma. And I just can't believe that that was never in the plan before. But I'm really glad that it wasn't. I'm glad that I had my pre-teaching life, where I worked for a United States Senator, where I stayed home to raise my children, because I think those experiences have made me a better teacher. I love my students. I consider them my children. In fact, my own children, sometimes at dinner on Sunday, I'll say, oh, my kids, or my children, and they'll say, Mom, we're your kids. Like, oh yeah, but my kids at school, because I really do feel invested in them. I guess the best word to describe my teaching philosophy is enthusiastic, and a love of learning. If I love it, my students know I'm happy, then they're going to love learning. And that will set them on a course for lifelong learning. That's what I want. I'm Wendy Pitt, and I teach.